Brisket Palace here, bringing you a review video on the Springfield Armory XDM Elite 3.8 Compact handgun in 10mm with a hex dragonfly. Make sure that you stay tuned because in this video we'll be talking about the 10mm caliber itself, the ideal consumer, features, specs, the optic, the recoil, the concealability, my initial thoughts, and I'll be getting this gun out to the range. So if you're someone who is a 10mm fan, or if you like watching shooting videos, or you just love guns, this may be a video that you want to watch. And if you stay tuned until the very end of this video, then you will be able to learn how you can possibly pick up this gun at a discounted price. So make sure that you stay tuned into the end. And if you haven't already, make sure that you smash that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment down below because I want to know what you think about this video. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to show what I received, and I think it's called a promotional launch package, not sure about that, but I received the gun and it came with a hex dragonfly optic and a Cuvo tactical inside the waistband holster, sorry if I said that wrong, a Surefire stiletto flashlight, a cable gun lock, and 20 rounds of hollow point ammunition. And I want to give credit where credit is due. I feel like Springfield Armory's marketing team is on point when it comes to their launches. They're always shipping out products and you really don't know what you're going to receive if you do receive a promotional launch package. So I want to say thank you to the team for sending me this product so that I could get my hands on it and get to try it out for myself. And another thing I wanted to say is I feel like Springfield Armory as a whole, they really listen to their customers because when it comes to innovation and giving the consumers what they're asking for, I feel like that's what they're doing. All right, now let's talk about the 10mm cartridge itself. It's marketed for hunting medium and large game such as deer, bears, and hogs. And I was watching some videos and I saw where a man had a successful antelope hunt with a 10mm handgun, and it was quite a large antelope. And another use for it is for defensive purposes. 10mm is one of the few semi-auto rimless cartridges that's legal to hunt white-tailed deer in many US states. So now we're going to talk about who I think the ideal consumer is for this handgun. Okay, so I'm going to let you in on a little secret, but don't tell anyone, okay? When it came to this caliber, I was slightly intimidated, to say the least. This round packed more of a punch than what I'm used to. I'm used to shooting rounds like 9mm, but once I got to the range, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. So I tell you that because I want you to learn from me, and I don't want you to count yourself out or sell yourself short because you can do all things that come your way. The ideal consumer wants a handgun that they can carry in town for self-defense purposes against human predators and in the woods against large animals. And if I were heading to an area where I could expect to encounter a large animal, I would definitely want a firearm like this. What's that, you say? Maybe you don't travel to those sorts of places. Maybe that's your everyday life and you live in an area where daily occurrences with bears or mountain lions may not be considered abnormal, and this happens every day, but you want to have a handgun that you can carry that brings the power of a 10mm cartridge. Now you can have that in a compact handgun with a magazine capacity of 11+1. And you know, thinking back on this, when I lived in Montana, this would be something that would have been really nice to have. Anytime that I plan on going hiking or riding my bike on trails, it's going to be really nice to be able to have this as an option. And now that I'm thinking about it, it just seems like 10mm is the caliber that I've never had, that I never knew that I needed. All right, now let's talk about the specs on this gun. But first, excuse me because I had to write these down because I would have never remembered all these numbers off the top of my head. So I'm going to be referring down to my notes. So the color on this is going to be black and the weight is 28.5 ounces unloaded. and the length is going to be 6.75 inches. The grip width is going to be 1.2 inches with a height of 4.58 inches. The slide's going to be forged steel with a melanite finish, and it comes optics ready. And the barrel is going to be a 3.8-inch barrel, hammer forged steel, match grade with a melanite finish. The sights are going to be a fiber optic front, and the rear is going to be that tactical rack U-dot. And it comes with a hex dragonfly option if you want that. And it has a magazine capacity of 11+1. Alright, so now let's talk about some features. It comes with 2 back straps, 2 flush magazine base plates, but if you look at these, they both have 10 round on the bottom. So when you change out your base plate, it's going to change your 11 round magazine into a 10 round magazine. You also get 2 11 round magazines with an option to purchase 15 round magazines. Oh, and there's something that I completely forgot earlier. You guys are probably like, what is she thinking about? She hasn't even mentioned the MSRP. So the MSRP on the one that comes with the Dragonfly is going to be $818. And the option without the Dragonfly is going to run you $633. All right, now let's get back to some features. So it comes with front and rear serrations. And this next thing I want to highlight, because I'm super excited about it, is the fact that it has an ambidextrous slide stop and release. Yep, you heard that right. Both sides. Alright, so you're probably like, is she crazy? Why is she getting so hype about that? But 10 to 12% of the US population is left-handed. So I really don't feel like enough manufacturers are making products that they can use. Not all of that 10 to 12% are ambidextrous, so they need something to where they can manipulate the firearm in the hand that's best for them. So thank you for making this ambi. All right, I digress. My bad. It has a removable magazine well, and it also comes with a flared magazine well for quick reloads when you need it. The trigger on this is going to be their Meta trigger. Meta stands for Match Enhanced Trigger Assembly, and of course it has that trigger safety. Now let's talk about the optic, and that is the Hex Dragonfly. Before we get started, I know there's probably going to be a few questions that you're going to have, but I'm going to go ahead and answer them. So question number 1, do you have to remove the optic in order to change the battery? And the answer to that is yes. Question number 2, does the optic co-witness with the iron sights? And the answer to that is going to be no. And that final question is going to be, does it have motion sensing auto wand? And the answer to that is going to be no. Alright, so it comes with a 3.5 MOA dot. It takes one CR32 battery, 100,000 hour battery life on your lowest illumination setting. It has a 16-hour auto shut-off feature, 8 illumination settings, and 1 button which controls your on-off and your illumination settings. It has slightly larger windage and elevation adjustment slots, which makes making adjustments easier, and it has tactile clicks. There's also rear and hood serrations, which are going to help you with glare. Alright, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. My Dragonfly failed after shooting about 60 or so rounds at the range, and that was just me shooting slow and sustained. My optic failed. So I did reach out to Springfield Armory, and the customer service was A1, and they got me another one out. So I will let you know how my next one does, because I definitely want to see how this is going to perform. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the recoil and how the gun felt in my hands. You know, that thing that I talked about in the beginning where I was slightly intimidated and I was like, hey, this is a secret, don't tell anyone, and you probably told someone, but that's okay. I'm going to admit I was very intimidated, And when I got there, you know, it was something that I was dreading going to the range to do. But I'm glad that I did it because, like I said before, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The gun was not too big or too bulky for my hands, and the recoil was manageable. It wasn't one of those things to where I didn't enjoy the shooting experience or the shooting experience was unpleasant, because I've definitely been there before where the experience was just very unpleasant and the gun just tore my hands up. But I could definitely tell a difference in the recoil, but it was something that I was able to manage. Now we're going to talk about the concealability of this firearm. So I have to say I'm extremely grateful that it came with a holster, because it would have took me forever to purchase a holster for this. Like, that's just me. But I took the holster and I put it on and I walked around my house with it. And there were a few things that stuck out to me. The way that it felt on my body was not uncomfortable. It wasn't rubbing me in certain places to where it felt like it was rubbing me raw, and it was actually sitting well on my body. And I was able to conceal it with comfort. I didn't have to wear a super baggy shirt. I was just wearing a basic t-shirt and it was able to conceal well. All right, so now on to my initial thoughts. Should we start with the good or should we start with the bad? I guess we'll start with the con so that we can end on a high note, right? All right, so one of the things that I thought was gonna be a con that wasn't really a con, but I'm just gonna talk about it, was the grip safety. I've seen where people talked about the fact that they don't like the grip safety. And for me, yeah, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna like this, but it ended up being a non-factor for me. It was something that I didn't even really notice. But another con would be the fact that you have to remove the optic in order to change the battery. Yeah, I don't like that. And then this would be an ammo con as far as 10 millimeter. The availability of ammo is not going to be as vast as, let's say, something like 9 millimeter. So if you are someone who has a 10 millimeter or you plan on purchasing this, you will need to make sure that you stock up on 10 millimeter. When I went to a few places locally, they did have 10 millimeter in stock, surprisingly. So, and when I say they had it in stock, they had at least 10 boxes of it. So if you are someone who has 10 mil, just make sure that you stock up on it. And I did see where people were asking about it, but it is available. It may plan on where you are, but you can always look online and see if you can find it online. All right, now we're going to talk about pros. So a pro that you probably already know I'm going to say, and you're probably like, don't get her started on that again, was the ambidextrous slide stop and magazine release. I've already explained that, not going to go down that rabbit hole again, but I really did like that. I like the slide serrations, and I appreciate the fact that they were able to get all of that in this little compact package. Like, I really like that. Another thing is that they're being innovative. They saw a gap in the market. They went out there and they did their thing. So I really like that too. Whew. So that was a lot. If you're still here, let me tell you, you're a real one and I appreciate you, okay? Thank you. You a homie, all right? So make sure that you comment down below and let me know what you think about this video. I appreciate the fact that you stuck it out this long, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, all right? But now on to that part that I promised you in the beginning. No, I didn't forget. I'm still going to produce, and that is how you can potentially get this pistol at a discounted rate. So all you need to do is head over to Springfield Armory's website, go over to their law enforcement / IOP tab, click on that tab. No, don't click off. You don't even know if it doesn't apply to you yet. All right, so I know you're probably thinking, oh, that's only for law enforcement, but it's not only for law enforcement, all right? You're gonna go to that tab and then you're gonna click on Individual Officer Purchase Program. And there you're gonna see the extensive list of people that this applies to. And this applies to first responders, and you're gonna have active, retired, and reserve military that it applies to, volunteer firefighters, probation, and parole officers, all right? So this discount applies to all of their firearms. So a lot of people don't know about this program, but I appreciate it. Like, it is so nice that you can pick up something for, even if it's only $100 off that product, You deserve it. Go get your $100 off, all right? So thank you so much for tuning into this video. I know it was a longer one, but I hope that you really enjoyed the content that was put out today. And if you have any questions, make sure you comment down below so that I can get to those questions. And I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe.